Okay folks, a little update about the engine. I've decided to use this Krylon high heat paint, and I did it outside on this table so I could roll it outside, and it went quite well. I like the finish. It looks a little bit like a powder coating, and as I've mentioned earlier, I don't have a professional setup, so I need to try to work with what I have. So I just pushed the engine outside, and it was sunny, not too much wind, the temperature was nice. So it looks good so far. I'll keep you updated. So a quick update and clip on the motor painting business. I've decided to try this red color on the side cover. I think it looks good. Getting almost ready to put the engine back on the frame. Asked a couple of guys who delivered my new bed yesterday to move the engine. They thought it was probably weighing around 150 pounds. Which might explain why I have this back problem. I'm actually almost, I have almost recovered from it, so I'm okay. But don't try to move this alone, kids. It's really heavy. And so, very excited to put it back on the frame. I took some time to clean up the wires. I really like those plastic covers, so I decided to make it clean, use my quick connectors. I don't know if I have mentioned this, but I'm using this product. They call them solder seal wire connectors. So basically it works with heat. So you put the wires together, and then by putting a lot of heat, the lead will just join the wires together, and the plastic will basically shrink, and it makes a very nice clean connector. So I have used this technique to connect many wires and save some space, and also use some heat shrink to do a nice clean connector. It also helps me to make sure that I connect the right stuff together. There's a red one going with the rectifier module there. So this is where I stand as of today. I hope you like this design. I decided to make short videos as I move along instead of a long one. So I'm probably going to assemble a few short clips together. At this point, thanks to my Russian friends that delivered my mattress, they were able to help me lower the engine on the lift. I was able to install the engine, so I'm working from the front to the back. So I've reinstalled the crash bar in front. The engine is looking pretty good. Putting it back is quite easy. The alignment is quite good, so just a matter of pushing the screws and the bolts, and so starting from the front, you can see the lower support, and then moving up the higher support. I've also installed the ones in the back. These ones I decided to remove some paint to make sure that the ground was making a good connection. This rod and the lower back will support the footrests, and in addition to that, I've used this I have this cheap home meter, and just just used the ohm meter to make sure that the ground was efficient. You see this ground here. So I touched the chassis at a few spots just to make sure that the ground was good. I like the paint. I need to do a bit of touch up on the Honda logo here. I'm going to put a little more aluminum paint just to erase that red line. It's really detail work. I have to use a very tiny brush, and so the next steps is I'm going to put back the horn and the switch. Also, this cable, that is the odometer cable. There's a gasket, actually a rubber seal inside the engine. So that was leaking before, so I'm happy that I'm able to fix it. Thanks to new parts from Dave's Parts. So this is the actually the cable that will go inside. This is my switch with a very nice black, new fresh coat of black paint. And so I will also reinstall the brake pedal. I need to fine tune this a little bit. And then probably the battery rack, and then moving on to electrical testing. And that's where I stand, and I'm very happy so far. I will also at the same time work on the carburetors. I'm starting to disassemble and replace, use a kit to replace the jets and the usual parts. I'm using these recycled plates from my local provider to put the parts. This is the left and the right carburetor facing the front of the machine. This one had a problem. Actually, it was a very tiny issue, very light issue, but this carburetor was kind of not keeping up with the other one. It's not a sync issue. It's really, I think, the float. So I'm going to check both floats, because this one was kind of too rich and choking at the stop. Then this one was kind of keeping the engine idling. So I will look after that. Today things are really moving along. I have installed most of the electrical components. Now the way I approach this work is really to divide the systems and focus on each system separately. So today I really made sure that all the electrical system, including electronic ignition, circuits, etc., was working fine, including checking the sparks. So when I'm done, I can really now focus only on the fuel system. So this is the way I like to do it. I'm using a lot of wire covering plastic parts. This is really nice, stuck together. Underneath I've made a few connections that I've isolated, and basically just use tie wraps to try to secure everything all the way up to the battery. This is the stock or original setup. I'm not inclined to do a cafe project, so I'm keeping the battery and the starter works, etc. You can see that I've put the cover, the clutch cable that I've cleaned and oiled, and I've had grease, of course, in this component here for the clutch. What else to say? You can see the black parts have been painted, so it works very nice. I've tested it, and it created the spark. The horn is actually louder. One thing I have to mention is the ground. I think I've already mentioned it. I have made sure that the ground was very strong, and that's about it for today. Next steps, I'm going to put on the odometer or speedometer cable there with the new with the new rubber seal. And then I'm going to, you can see I've put the mufflers, only the first part, because I wanted to check the ignition spark, and I didn't want the dust to go out and put dirt on that nice engine. I've also put back the Kickstarter. I have also put back the chain, of course, the gear shift lever, and so lots of progress today. I'm getting really close. So next step will be fueling system. You may have noticed that I installed a lot of parts. I'm almost done. Now I've installed the mufflers, as you can see, and I had brand new gaskets for the exhaust port, and also a new graphite gasket for the exhaust pipe. I had to enlarge the muffler end a little bit to have enough space to slide the gasket on it. So that will help the pressure and reduce the noise. As you can see, I have also put back the ignition key. I now have also the clutch cable engaged. Moving to the right side, as I have probably mentioned, of course the horn is there. I had the oil leak. This is very common on this speedometer cable. There's a gasket inside and it's often leaking. Now that was a pain in the butt because I wasn't really sure if the gasket could be replaced without opening the motor. I found some information on it. So the gasket looks like this, and you can pull it out using any tool that you can find with a very narrow end. And it's going in the bottom of this opening. Now this screw will never go in if your cable is not pushed completely, and if you can't push it, it's because the gasket is not completely inserted. So what I had to do, because I started by sliding the gasket inside, and it was snug, but it was not really completely installed. So that cable could not leave enough space for the screw to go in. So I had to struggle a bit, and then I thought about using this just a regular, a regular box, and just push it inside. Back to this carburetor business. As I suspected, there was a problem with one of the floats. The right side carburetor, they're now inverted, so it becomes now the left because they are inverted. So the left side carburetor float is very, very tight if you look at the tab. But anyway, I'll show you later. But what it really means is, since it was tight, whenever there was a little bit of gas, the float would basically shut the valve and shut off the valve, so there's no more gas. So it was too lean, basically. Where the other float, which on the working carburetor, has more slack, so there would be more gas going into the intake. And so what happens is you stop the motorcycle, you're at a red light or wherever, and you're waiting, and the motor is on idle. This float will shut the gas too early, so the other one is the only remaining one providing gas to the engine. So the idle is good. You don't really realize that there's only one carburetor working. Actually, it's very smooth. But The matter of fact is this one is not giving any more power to the engine, and so when I started to accelerate, this one would be too weak, too lean, so the engine would stall. So just one example of potential problems you can have with carburetors. Look at this top. I've done a nice wax job on it, and use my my bench grinder here to polish it, so it looks absolutely wonderful. So I'm very excited to finish this job. I've got my kits. Now the next step is I'm going to clean these bad boys. One good trick is you can use a guitar string. You see I have a few guitar strings here. You can use guitar strings to clean those little ports and make sure that you do a good job. So these I didn't really bother because they're going to be replaced, but the main jet one I use guitar string to clean it through. Well, folks, this is the spiritual note that will be used to end this long video. I wanted to put the emphasis on the carb synchronization process because it was a long process, but the results are just amazing. So we always need to stay humble and try to wait before reaching any conclusions, but that synchronization process was a real key for performance. And since then, I must say that the motorcycle has never performed that well. However, there is one last improvement to complete this chapter, and it's about the air filters. Now, like most of you, probably I was going to order new air filters from Common Motor, and they are not cheap for sure, but I couldn't escape the fact that about 80% of that part was actually very good. So it was kind of from an ecological perspective, it didn't make sense to throw away those two air filters. So I decided to remove the paper material completely and followed some advice that I found on forums, and use foam to replace the paper material. So I bought this foam material. I will add the link to Amazon later, and basically just cut just the right size to allow the foam to be maybe a bit too large, and then I can stuck it in that box. So you can see on the pictures what it looks like. And of course I have used some fresh oil in a bucket, and I have put the sponge in the oil and just basically make sure that there is just a little bit of oil still in the foam, and then assemble the box back. And quite frankly, that was, I think, one of the best improvements that I've made, because I found that the old paper-based filters were not only clogged and old and probably just choking the engine, and that was actually part of the problems I encountered with the engine stalling and other performance issue. So now the engine is really breathing, and with this new approach and the fresh filters, the engine is running absolutely amazing. So basically, I could not be more happy about all those improvements. Again, we need to stay humble. We never know what can happen and what can be found down the road. So after more than 40 years of mechanic work on motorcycles and cars, I have learned that, and also in the IT world actually, I've learned that you must always stay humble and be ready to face new challenges. So this will conclude this year's series of improvements. Just to sum it up, so this is the list of what I've done over the winter and the past years. So headlight replacement, brake pads and fluid, of course, that needs to be refreshed. I've changed both tires, front and back. Throttle cables were greased and improved. The tachometer oil gasket, exhaust gaskets from common motor, ignition coils also from common motor, charging system, engine and chassis were painted. Valves adjusted, ignition timing chain adjusted, carburetors rebuilt with floats adjusted at 16 millimeter as recommended by common motor, front fork oil replaced, and finally carbs synchronized and air filters modified. So that will be it for this year's series of improvement. What I'm planning to do next winter is probably work on the wheels. They're a bit dirty, and I would like to really make them look shiny and new. So that will be an area where I will focus my attention, and I'm also planning to as well to look at the bearings in both wheels, just check them out and see if they need to be replaced. But in the meantime, I'm having really a blast with this motorcycle. It's been a long video, and I know that I'm very detail oriented, but that was really to make sure that you would see all the improvements. And if you have specific questions, if some areas are of some more interest for you, just contact me or publish a comment under this YouTube video, and it will be my pleasure to try to answer. I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I can certainly help you find the information or help you in the thinking process. So I hope you're enjoying your vintage motorcycles out there, and I wish you a safe summer. With COVID decreasing, we're just expecting better and better days, and again, I'm very thankful that I was able to use this to ride this vintage motorcycle as a part of a therapy to escape from all the news and the misery out there related to this pandemic. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.